volume up. There we go.
There it goes.
There we go.
I am so disappointed in the TSA. I cannot tell you how sad I am. America is at risk. I blame the candle people.
From fabulous Las Vegas, Nevada, this is Pod Therapy. Real people, real problems, and real therapists. You can submit your questions anonymously at podtherapy.net or email us at podtherapyguys@gmail.com. Hi, I'm Jacob Smith, and boy, do I not want to hear myself being impersonated. And now, broadcasting from the churn, that guy is Dr. Jim Jobin. I'm Jacob, the audio guy, and it's time for some Pod Therapy.
Well, who raised him? That's all of your impressions.
I know. I got
Jacob in a falsetto and Dr. Phil.
That's it.
Yeah. At least you got impersonated by Jacob. I got impersonated by Paul, and he took like 800 off my IQ for that one. That was pretty bad.
I think your IQ was accurate.
It was up and down.
I think it was portrayed accurately.
Plus and minus 5 on that one. Yeah, it was pretty rough.
And your mom just flapping around.
I know, just in the background, just flapping.
We had a really good time recording that.
That was fun. That was fun. Well, it's funny because like in my ICS listenership, I'll let a few go and then I'll binge a few. You know, like I'll go for a walk and just keep listening to episodes or whatever. And so that one I wasn't on point with. And then of course Twitter alerted us. I think it was a Twitter and our Discord. We're like, hey.
No, I heard it first before.
Oh, you
Twitter.
heard it before you got the references? Yeah.
Oh, because I was listening to it and I thought I was hurt by mine.
Oh yeah.
Until I heard Jim's.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I'm fine.
I'm fine. Yeah.
I got away. Right.
I got away scot-free on this one.
From fabulous Las Vegas, Nevada.
Yeah.
This was Nick Tenchman.
Yeah. That was great. He went like old-timey radio voice. Yeah, that was so good.
That was pretty good.
Old-timey radio.
Yeah.
With like that nor'easter accent. It was perfect. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, friends from all ages, I present to you mental health.
I should be doing it that way.
I know, right?
So much better.
Yeah, this is solid notes. Well, we have got a special guest with us in the studio today, longtime boss and Theraproducer of the show, and officially the head of our sports and athletic department, basically. He's commissioner of every sports league that we do, fantasy football and March Madness, which I had briefly enjoyed victory in, and then lost in a bet.
Yep.
In the Patreon.
Yep.
I'm so disappointed in the TSA.
But Smitty's here.
Hi, Smitty.
Which is where you were going with that.
Oh, yeah, Smitty's also here. Sorry, I'm just...
And they're doing candlelight sushi, I believe.
Yeah. That was good. That was solid. That's a solid burn. Also by a candle. Patreon.com/therapy if you want to find out how I magically lost my entire March Madness sushi bet.
You're fine. It's a bad week for Pod Therapy.
I lost a bartender tab as well.
It's a good week for Nick.
Yeah, everything's coming up Tangeman.
Yeah.
And I'm
Nick
just
did
taking
well.
the hits.
Jacob did well.
Yeah.
Yep.
Jim made a foolish bet again.
It happens. So, Smitty, where'd you fly in from, man?
Washington Reagan.
That's right. So you're up in that D.C. area. How is the Capitol? Does it feel safe these days?
Yeah.
Safer now that they've banned the candles in the Capitol buildings?
Yeah, the candles stay outside the Capitol.
Right?
Anybody could put dynamite in them, so they keep them outside.
After today, somebody's going to report it and look into it, and I'll be a hero then. Then they'll be like, you know what, we call it the Jobin Rule. We're protecting America one candle at a time.
Still waiting for that day when you're a hero.
I wouldn't call myself a hero, Tangeman, but it is written on my business cards. We have questions that we should probably answer since I'm bad at everything else. Maybe we do the therapy thing. First one comes from an old friend of the show, Gray Whitaker, who lives in sunny Australia. I will be reading this entirely in an Australian accent in honor of Gray Whitaker.
Where does Gray live? What city?
Capital city of Australia?
Capital city of what Australian state?
There's states? Oh, shit, we went over this.
Yep, we did.
Oh, that's right.
Literally like 3 episodes
Blueyville. Ago. It's something. I don't know. Mike was saying it's where Bluey
Lucky
lives.
guess.
Yeah. How do you get that?
It's the capital state of Queensland.
Oh, wait. Queensland is the capital?
Queensland's the state.
It's the capital
city of Queensland.
Of Queensland. Kingsville. That feels right. I think I got that. Final answer.
No, not even close. Can you find Australia on a map?
Oh, yeah, it's that island one. It's down there by Antarctica. It's to the right.
What's the question?
Oh, yeah. Brain freeze by Gray Whitaker.
Goodness.
Good day, you lovely people. Looking forward to meeting you both in Las Vegas. Not Jacob. I kind of know him already.
Fine.
I think this is the first time I've ever written y'all because I've never felt most of my stuff would not, be relatable or interesting. However, I experienced something truly weird to me and am keen to hear your thoughts. As Dr. Mike helped explain, Brisbane QLD, which I think means Queensland, went through some fairly drastic weather. This event resulted in our house being flooded. Ah, shit, Gray, that sucks. My background is decades of project management, and I have a passion for keeping everything organized. Is something even worth doing if you don't have a spreadsheet detailing every part of it? I handle stress well, and my thought process enabled me to easily work through complex problems, even through crisis management. This was the case the night our house flooded. I easily calmed down my wife, Amanda, and had a very structured plan to get the important items together and get somewhere safe. This included navigating through closed flooded roads and changing plans as we realized that the flooded roads would prevent us reaching our empty apartment where we planned to spend the night. We made it to a friend's house, and Amanda calmed down, and her stress level started to drop. We were safe and had a dry bed to sleep in. This is where shit got weird for me. There was no threat, no immediate action needed, and I just froze. I stood in the middle of my friend's lounge room and did not know what to do next. My brain just stopped working. I could not conjure a single thought, feeling, or emotion, and it scared the shit out of me. I think it was about 20 minutes before emotion started to hit me, and I started to feel normal again. It didn't last long, but not knowing what the next thing to do was really scared me. It has occurred again a couple of times since dealing with the aftermath, which has been less dramatic, but still unnerving. Keen to hear your thoughts. Cheers, Gray Whitaker.
Okay. So as I was listening to this, a couple thoughts came to mind. It went a different direction than I thought it was going to go into a little bit. But first of all, I'm glad you're safe.
Yeah, jeez,
so
man.
First and foremost.
Gosh, it's terrifying what happened out there.
Yeah. Because I've heard people talk about this before, kind of this idea of like, you know, the way my brain works, I'm very organized, I'm very structured, and I can do all these different things, but in this one particular situation, I couldn't tap into that, right? So his situation was a little bit different. Sounds like Ray was able to do that, at least to start with, but then that kind of kicked over later on, and just kind of went completely the opposite direction. And I think the thing that people need to remember in situations like this is that you have to appreciate the fact that you could probably stay in that zone handling situations calmly like that if you didn't have anything to lose.
Right.
I mean, if it wasn't your dog in the fight, yeah, you could handle situations like that and you could navigate that really easily. But you also have to appreciate the fact that this is an emotional time. And so there's this emotional part of the brain that at some point is going to kick in. The logical, executive functioning part of the brain can stay in charge for quite a while, but at some point that emotional side needs to be heard.
Yeah.
It needs to express itself. And it sounds like that's kind of what happened.
I think definitely. So I've had this experience, and if you're playing Jim's Neurotic Bingo at home, grab your corner piece. Also, there really is a Jim's Neurotic Bingo now. It's on the Discord.
There isn't a square for bad bets.
Oh,
I don't think.
Wow, that's an oversight.
Yeah.
That's like a home square
That's
right
just
there.
the center square that
square
everyone
that
gets
goes-
automatically.
Yeah, you just slam dunk. That's a free space, man.
Yeah.
Jeez. So I have definitely had this experience. And I think a lot of us, if you've had a history of panic attacks or really acute anxiety episodes, this is not terribly uncommon. And I know there's even a name for it. I've always considered it like post-adrenaline shock. But like, and this is something you see in a lot of situations where somebody's like amped up dealing with the problem and their body is flooding them, right? With those emergency stress hormones,
Yeah.
getting adrenaline, norepinephrine. And so like that gives you like amazing like focus and agility and just like you're getting problems done. And then at the end of the crisis, your body like floods out all of those stress hormones and it counteracts them because you're not meant to stay in that elevated state for very long. And this is very similar to what happens with people that experience like acute anxiety, stress, or panic, is our body floods with those stress hormones because our brain misperceives danger and our sympathetic nervous system goes off. And so we have these alarm systems going off in our brain. When it stops, a lot of us feel just frozen. And there's this sense of like numbness and just like vacancy that sometimes comes. Not always, but I have had that experience. And it's very similar to this, which I've always just considered like post-adrenaline aftershock. Mm-hmm. But there is sort of this sense of like vacancy.
I was going to bring this up when we were talking to Dr. Mike about this, and I didn't have a good opening, but this idea that like when you're experiencing pain, how your body, and he kind of mentioned this, how your body can kind of turn it off,
right,
for survival.
Oh, right.
Like, and there's a story I remember hearing once about a woman that fell while hiking, and she fell a long ways, and she had several broken bones.
Right.
But she said that she had no pain.
Right.
And she was able to crawl up to a spot where she can get somebody else's attention.
Yeah.
She felt no pain until the helicopter got there to pick her up.
Right.
And as soon as that happened, it was instant and it was extreme pain.
Right.
Because the brain, basically, it's like, okay, we did our job.
Right. It flooded your body
now
with all those hormones and just said, everything is off, go.
Yeah.
Survive. And so, like, it shuts off all pain, exactly like you said, because there's no survival purpose for it anymore.
Yep.
Like, yes, it's damaged the organism and the tissues, but they're no longer relevant because you're in extreme danger. And I think that's essentially what's happening emotionally, physically. There is a numb state that allows you to just focus. But I think when that's done, I think your body floods in with the counter chemicals that are going to deactivate adrenaline and norepinephrine. And that's the adrenaline purge. And I think afterward, it isn't always the case, but I think many of us, like for a lot of people that feel that extreme fatigue and just feeling like this immense deflation and like lowness or numbness, not depression necessarily, but just exhaustion. Mm-hmm. And that is a very common thing for those who experience panic. It sucks because it really takes it out of you. And then after you've had your episode, you're just like, I want to take a nap. Like I'm done. I can't talk. I'm empty. I'm just exhausted. And it's this flood state that I would not be surprised if that's what Gray went through in that.
Isn't it very common that first responders have that? They deal with the most horrific thing. And after everyone's triaged, after they're all shipped to the hospital, then you process this horrific scene that you just went through.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. And then the adrenaline floods out. And then there's just this numb emptiness that's like now all of a sudden every step is like, all a force of will. So I wouldn't be surprised if that's what that was, man. You were carried away on adrenaline, an emergency surge. The emergency response system shuts off. Now you're in a safe place. Your brain is catching up to the moment. And then basically your magic superpowers are drained away. And I wouldn't be surprised if the after effects he's feeling, the smaller versions of that, are essentially the same thing.
Yeah.
Just smaller variations of the same concept. He's probably getting floods and purges of those stress chemicals.
Yeah. I don't think it's anything. I know you didn't really ask this, but I know this. I don't think this is anything to really be too concerned about.
No,
I think this is a
chemical.
Normal reaction.
I think so. At the very end of the spectrum of mental stuff, it could be something adjacent to dissociation, which sometimes happens in extreme, situations. Sometimes in the aftermath, like our brain is just catching up to what's happening, and we might just kind of naturally dissociate a little bit as our brain sort of goes into what's called a trance state and just kind of processes data on a subconscious level. Maybe that's also happening, but it's not bad. It's natural. Like that just happens after extreme events. Mm-hmm. So a lot of times it happens when you go to bed, and you're just going to sleep it off. But dang, man, really glad to hear that you guys are okay and hope that you guys are rebuilding and getting everything back in order again. And good for you, Gray, that you took command and immediately just did the right moves. I think that's awesome. But really sorry to hear that you even had to go through that, man. It's terrible.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Natural stuff, man. This is why I live in Nevada. We don't have any water. So nothing aqua can ever happen here. Except running out. I guess that's probably a problem.
Yeah.
I guess we need water to drink.
Yeah.
We can just drink the candles, Nick.
That's a theory.
We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about intrusive thoughts about a violent ex. You're listening to Pod Therapy.
Today's episode is brought to you by...
Great radio, Nick. You're crushing it.
Smitty Scoop.
Oh, shit!
Jake Snyder, Carolyn Albert, Kevin Chamberlain, and Ben Stanley, and Byler T. Thank you.
Thank you, producers.
We have some trivia that was written in to us today.
All right.
All right. Hello, Dr. Jacob, life coach Nick, and remember to put the third host name here. I discovered your podcast I discovered your podcast last year during some big changes in my life. Divorce, ex-wife, moving in with former best friend, thoughts of suicide, moving back in with my parents, starting a therapy for the first time. Your advice and accessible attitude make for an excellent podcast, and you've helped me through some rough times. You guys have lifted my sense of humor into difficult subjects to talk about, and I wanted to give you some accolades for that. So, recently decided to go through the back catalog starting at episode 1.
Oh,
Sorry.
never do that.
Jesus.
Oh, that's terrible.
Yeah, it's terrible. What a mistake. That continues to be. I'm up to episode 37. Nick, please go back to telling jokes again at the intro. All right.
You can kill the music.
Yeah, I can kill the music.
Not going to do it.
Okay.
All right.
We'll just loop it. Rest the show.
I thought I should send you some trivia questions. Here we go. So this one has to do with cars.
Okay.
In honor of our Theraproducers.
I definitely have the advantage.
Oh, he recently I think he recently became a Patreon supporter. So thank you. So this is coming from Cody, the DeLorean guy.
Okay.
Here's our question. Let's see. Question number 1. Which of the following car companies is not owned by Volkswagen? By the Volkswagen Group. A, Porsche. B, Mercedes-Benz. C, Bentley. D, Lamborghini. Or E, Volkswagen.
All right. So just a sound warning. He's yelling into the mic because of the audio, but the audio is going to be like way down in the phone.
Oh, yeah, it was pretty loud in mine.
It's just going to be him screaming. That's what we're going to hear.
Oh, is it?
Yes.
All right.
You're yelling.
Well, I mean, you could turn it down in post.
Yeah. Okay. I'll just do all that.
Don't make Jim work.
I also don't know how. So it's just going to be yelling.
Is that what this is about?
The Nick Tangeman yelling segment. I hope everybody enjoyed that because I didn't change it. All right. So one of these is not owned by Mercedes-Benz?
No. Which of the following car companies is not owned by the Volkswagen Group?
Okay. All right. And the options were?
Porsche, Mercedes-Benz, Bentley, Lamborghini, or Volkswagen.
Oh, wait. The last one's Volkswagen?
I think that one's a joke.
Okay. Yeah.
Feel free to guess Volkswagen. Name again?
Porsche, Mercedes-Benz. Is it Porsche or Porsche?
Porsche.
Mercedes-Benz, Bentley, Lamborghini.
I'm going to go Lambo.
Yeah, that's the right answer. That's got to be.
But I already took it.
Yeah, because Lambo and Ferrari. Mercedes-Benz is British, right? Yeah, so it doesn't feel like that'd be owned
Mercedes
by the
is a German company.
Oh. Okay, that feels adjacent. Mercedes-Benz, Bentley.
I'm going to go Bentley, just to be different.
There you go.
And Lambo. What's the only answer not taken?
Porsche.
I guess I'll take Porsche. I think it's Lambo
I'm
because
pretty sure that Mercedes and Porsche are both owned by Volkswagen.
that feels probable. Yeah, Lambo and Ferrari are like these really big independent like companies, right? That like rival each other.
I don't think Lambo is independent.
Okay. I feel like that's.
I mean, they were.
Wouldn't be a Volkswagen thing.
Who said Mercedes-Benz?
That would be
Smitty.
Smith.
He wins.
Really? Look at that.
All the rest are owned by Volkswagen.
Volkswagen Group owns 12 different and distinct car companies.
Wow.
Holy
I really thought Mercedes was owned by Volkswagen.
That's crazy.
I was actually pretty confident in that.
We got a bonus question. The Volkswagen Group Type 1, a.k.a. the Beetle, made its debut in 1937. How much horsepower did the engine have at that time? Closest wins.
Horsepower.
Oh, I'll guess
10.
No, I'll guess 75.
36.
I'm sticking to 10. Closest without going over, right?
No.
No, just closest.
No.
I already saw the answer. It's 57.
All right.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. 25.
I was right. I win.
Wow.
I
25.
win.
25 horsepower.
Yay.
25.
I guess I could have guessed. I thought I saw it.
Yeah.
I knew it was very low.
Sweet victory.
Jeez.
Man,
okay.
Being
Thank
back in
you,
the winner's
Cody.
circle feels good.
Thank you for the
That
trivia.
is a good question. Man, Volkswagen Group's doing very well for themselves. Best car I ever had was the Volkswagen Jetta TDI, the turbo diesel The one that got
the one that wasn't a diesel.
Yes,
or that was not a clean burning.
The one
diesel?
that broke every law in every country, but then lied because like it knew when it was getting smog tested.
Yeah. As soon as you plugged in the tester to it would go
into clean mode, and it would just be spitting out nothing but like freaking dishwater, and then you'd unlatch that sucker, and it was all dirty, and it was getting 50 miles of the gallon.
I had a couple of friends that had those when that came out, and basically they got their whatever they had paid Volkswagen for the cars, they just got it refunded.
I got all that back and some.
Yeah.
I'm still getting checks. I just got a check last week for $40. Still the class action lawsuit. They're still getting sued.
Really?
I'm just a party to it.
My buddy didn't even he wasn't even part of the class action. He just got a full refund from Volkswagen like 12 years after he bought the car.
Yep.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah, I had put a ton of miles on mine. I think I'd put like really close to 100,000 miles on mine.
Yeah.
Because that was when I was working for WestCare. So I was driving 2 hours up, 2 hours down, corner to corner.
But I mean, that is something that like the American people should be getting paid for that.
Yeah.
Because like
horrible.
Volkswagen damaged the environment.
Yes.
By being sneaky.
Yeah, and every country violated every law that exists. But you know what? They came out on top. They're doing just fine because apparently you could do what you want as long as you own enough car companies. Intrusive thoughts about violent X from Animus. Hey guys, love the show. I've been listening for over a year, and I'm a Therapal. Oh, thanks, Animus. That's awesome. I heard that you were getting low on questions on the last show and decided to finally ask about an intrusive thought/thought distortion that's been weighing on my mind. For background, I'm a 30-year-old woman about to get married for the first time. Woohoo! The man I'm currently with is amazing, understanding, and we have great communication. However, I've had one concern on my mind that I've not shared with him nor anyone else in my life, and that is an intrusive thought/worry about my ex. My ex and I have been broken up for about 6 years now. We were together for 3. When we were together, his mental health took a big downward spiral and the relationship was getting dangerous. He was diagnosed with severe depression and anxiety, but did well maintaining it for the first half of our relationship. Around the halfway mark, I faced severe medical issues, and he was very helpful and supportive during that time. As I started to get better, he started neglecting his mental health. He started drinking heavily, throwing things around our apartment, blaming me for things he did, and even pointed unloaded guns at me and pulled the trigger on multiple occasions as a, quote, joke.
Yeesh.
Oh, shit. At the start of his mental health decline, I tried to be supportive and understanding, because he had done so much for me when I was ill and barely able to take care of myself for months. I was open about my fears and concerns and talked to him about the red flags I was seeing and inappropriate things he was doing, but he refused to see any issues or get help. I put up with it for about half a year before I decided I would rather leave on my feet instead of in a casket. Fortunately, there was no retaliation past a couple suicide implications and guilt trips. He didn't explicitly say he was going to kill himself, but said stuff like that, like life was not worth living, he's miserable about me, etc. Fast forward to today, and everything is going fantastic. I've not heard from him, spoken to him, or really even thought about him in years. However, we do still live in the same town and have some mutual acquaintances, mostly people I work with, but we never cross paths ourselves. Last I even heard about him was a little over 2 years ago, where he was apparently still talking about me a ton, and allegedly heard from a friend of a friend, even scared away someone who was trying to date because he always compared her to me. But that was really just a rumor, and I haven't heard anything at all about him since then. However, as I am planning my wedding and getting questions like, "When did you know he was the one?" I keep finding myself thinking back on that relationship and about the ex and worrying about him possibly taking violent actions against me or my fiancé. He does not have a social media account, but due to our mutual connections, there's a very high likelihood that he's aware of my engagement, and I'm 90% sure I saw him in passing recently while getting groceries with my fiancé, though the masks made it so I didn't see his full face. We've not spoken in years. He has not sent any threats to me, my fiancé, or said anything concerning enough for anyone I know to reach out and tell me they're concerned about him or me. I have absolutely no idea of his current mental state and feel it's really none of my business, as I know my fears are currently unfounded. There has been absolutely nothing in years to lead me to believe he is planning anything violent. However, I still have a recurring intrusive worry that he might snap, for lack of a better word, and try to hurt us. At the time I left, his mental state was just so bad, was getting worse, and he was so unwilling to get help or view his violent outbursts and actions as anything but justified or a joke. I truly do think I do not think I would be alive today if I didn't leave him when I did. I haven't told my fiancé about this fear because I don't want him to worry about anything that I currently have no evidence for. For all I know, my ex is in therapy, medicated, and is thriving with a strong support system. I know I'm catastrophizing and fortune-telling based on something years in the past. But how can I work through those fears? I've been in therapy, but I'm looking for a new therapist as the one I was seeing wasn't a good fit. And other than this very recent thought, I haven't had any issues or concerns affecting my life. Thanks for all you guys do. Animus.
I agree.
Yep.
I think you nailed it, Animus.
Easy.
I agree with you totally.
Slam dunk.
Did anybody else think that Jim was mispronouncing Anonymous?
No. It says Animus. Nick can vouch.
I can. Sorry.
But I'm not above mispronouncing. Remember Anonymous? That was a good pun.
Yeah.
I like that. So
yeah.
It's always a way to spin it.
No, I know why Jacob said what he said, and it's because Animus, you sound like you already know.
Sounds like you got a good handle on it.
It sounds like you're actually,
yeah, I'm only kind of kidding around when I say that I agree with you. Like, I think you just kind of, everything you said in there, I think you just kind of nail it.
Well, and it's interesting, reading it because you identify like, okay, here's my concern. These are the things that are going through my mind. And then follow that up with, I know I'm catastrophizing.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And then this happens. And I know I don't have anything to support this.
Right.
And then, so the whole letter was kind of written that way. And it's like, I agree with everything that you've said. And you seem to have a really good understanding.
You have made up something that could possibly happen.
Yeah.
And you're concerned that if it did happen, that it would be bad. Mm-hmm. But you're also aware that you've just made it up without any evidence to base that on. And so, yeah.
Correct on all counts.
Yeah. And you want to go and you want to get a new therapist and talk to that therapist about it. Cool.
Yep.
Next.
No, but I do think, okay, so one of the questions is how can I work through these fears? I think you're doing it. I think the question then also kind of becomes, and maybe this is the question that you still have that you didn't ask is like, well, how long is this going to last?
Right.
Because I think that's the question I would have too. Like, okay, I know what's going on. I know how my mind is working, and I know what steps I need to take. I'm taking those steps. How long before this gets better?
Mm.
And that's a really good question because we don't really know that, I think it's about progress, not perfection. If these thoughts become less intrusive, less often, then you're making progress. This could last for quite a while, but really look at how big of an impact it has, and is it affecting your functioning at all? Is it preventing you from doing things, having a good relationship? Is it preventing you from going out and doing fun things or stopping you from any activities? If it's not, then I think you're doing fine just as you are, and you just learn to manage it.
Yeah, I think, let me make sure I'm saying this right. Animus, that feels right. I guess my take on this is, I think, so there's two things that you're identifying, and I think it might actually be a third thing that maybe you didn't identify. So I want to offer that just for you to think about with your new therapist. So a couple things to the general audience. Animus is talking about intrusive thoughts or automatic negative thoughts. And hopefully you've heard us talk about that in the past. But this is a really difficult thing, especially for people that maybe deal with anxiety or also are triggered into kind of cognitive distortions. Automatic thoughts or intrusive unwanted thoughts are these flash ideas or images or feelings or words or concepts that flood into the person in an involuntary way. And they're really difficult because you can't exactly guard against them. That's why we call them intrusive and involuntary and unwanted. And so there's not a lot you can do to kind of create any shielding. The best advice we have for people when they're experiencing that is kind of like not clicking on the pop-up ad, because a lot of times the brain says, oh, what if this crazy thing happened?
Right.
And the more we engage with the what-ifing, the more we're kind of planting the cookies in the algorithm, and the brain says, oh, this thought has some merit. I better bring this up more often. And it's involuntary, and a lot of times it really frightens us because then we start to come out away to all these weird conclusions like, oh, do I secretly want my ex? And what does this mean? What's the meaning of the intrusive thought? And a lot of us with anxiety start doing that shit.
You know, Facebook even like knows when you stop scrolling.
Oh, yeah, because then it sees where you stopped, and then now it uses that information to come back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so like my Facebook feed is really weird. Like the stuff that they have found that I'm really interested in.
Yeah.
It's usually
a lot of furry pages, right?
No.
Mine too.
No.
Wait, what?
It's welding.
Okay.
Out of all the things, it's welding.
I feel like that's kind of on.
Yeah, like that gets...
Welding is interesting.
Yeah,
I'll bet you that's in your TikTok feed.
I'll watch that, and it's there.
Yeah,
like,
they know.
And then now it pops up all the time.
Yep.
But yeah, I agree. Like your brain kind of works the same way. Like, oh, if you keep... Like, I'm going to plant this thought, and then you entertain it like, oh, you must like this.
Yes.
So here's some more of that.
Yeah, and you don't have any control over the initial thought. That's why we call it intrusive. But one of the pieces of advice we generally give to people that are having those is just being careful not to overly entertain it, because if you're sitting there with it for too long, you're planting cookies, and the brain thinks, oh, maybe this is reliable. So that was the first idea you brought up, and I wanted to speak to it.
I get these all the time.
Yeah, just like
I
zap
do,
thoughts,
like
right?
intrusive thoughts constantly throughout my day.
Oh, yeah. And it just, there's nothing you can do about it.
No.
And they're always like, they're unwanted. Like sometimes they're terrifying, sometimes they're emotional, sometimes they're just like bizarre.
Like I was moving something the other day at work, and like a tool, and I walked past someone, and it just clicked through my head like, oh, if I just swing this at that person right now, I can just kill them.
They'll
be
dead. Yes, yeah, they'll just be dead.
Yeah.
And there's a whole list of intrusive thoughts. There's
like,
a great book on it. I just could kill that person. But the good news is you don't take that seriously. You think that and you go, whatever, and you just keep on going with your day. But for many people, that zap thought happens, which happens to all people all the time. Just Jacob telling his story about it, just normal human stuff. Well, Jacob stuff, which, it's always on a curve.
Murder.
But yeah, like you don't want to read into it. And so in this case, the writer isn't, but I just want to speak to that. The writer's also talking about cognitive distortions. Great references there, writer, talking about catastrophizing, right? This is a glitch in perception that humans do. It's the essence of cognitive behavioral therapy is how we misperceive things in these wrong-minded ways. And so you're talking about catastrophizing, fortune-telling, mind reading. So yes, those things are happening too. Actually, though, I think it's a third thing. I think this is a trauma response, if I had to place money on it. Which I'm not. I'm not betting anymore. I'm out of the gambling business. Okay? I'm out for good this time. I've lost twice in a night, and I'm out.
I mean, that square in Jim's Neurotic Bingo can only be punched once. So.
Yeah, that's right. Once per episode. You can't get double points. I think this is related to trauma. I mean, you're talking about an abusive relationship with somebody who consistently put you in fear of your life. You're getting a gun pointed at you. You leave the relationship and you're convinced to this day that if you stayed, you'd be actually dead. That is terrifying. And I think that comes back at this phase of your life because of the things that are causing it. So when we think about PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder specifically has to do with reaction to triggers, and the triggers almost always are in reference to the initial trauma. And so, this in this case, I wouldn't be surprised. It's relationship driven. You're thinking about history. You're thinking about marrying somebody, and now their safety matters a great deal to you, and it always did. But now you're in the sense of like, could this guy hurt me or hurt my spouse? That's exactly the kind of mentality that sounds to me like trauma.
Oh, yeah.
I'd be very curious what the assessing therapist says when they sit down and put all the pieces of the puzzle on the table. I think they're going to hear that and go, this looks like a trauma reaction, and that means animus, that they're going to take a separate approach to that. They're probably not going to approach it from CBT. They're probably not going to approach it using RAIN, which is an acronym and a method that we use to treat intrusive thoughts. I think they're going to approach the trauma history through reprocessing and trauma work, and I think that's what's going to bring the relief.
No, it's also quite possible, because the other thing, too, is like it doesn't necessarily mean that you've got post-traumatic stress disorder. Obviously, we can't diagnose that.
Yeah, good.
But it does sound like like Jim said, a
trauma-related
response.
Yeah.
I mean, there's, 4 or 5 clusters in PTSD?
I think it's 4.
4 clusters. So in each cluster, you have to have one criteria met So it's like a symptom. So you have to have like one criteria in each cluster, but you have to have all clusters to be able to be diagnosed with PTSD.
There's a lot of components.
Yeah. So I guess the main thing I'm saying here is I don't want you to hear this and have to go and say, I've got PTSD.
No, yeah.
We don't know that.
No. And also, to be clear, there are many types of traumatic disorders, not just PTSD. But this idea of trauma imprinting on a person and then them having an emotional or anxious reaction to it, or even intrusive thoughts later on, that is the thing. And so that can happen. In this case, I think that would be a very good hypothesis. And I'd be very interested in what your therapist thinks. We always defer to the assessing therapist. Thank you for the bailout, Nick. I'm definitely not diagnosing that, but sounds like it might be in that box of trauma-related things. Yeah. It is also an intrusive thought. I think that's true, but it's not the kind of intrusive thought like, oh, what if I accidentally murder this guy? Or, I've heard all sorts of intrusive thoughts.
It's intrusive in that she's not thinking about it ahead of time, and she's not wanting to think about it.
To me, that sounds more like a flashback.
Yeah, I mean,
that gets more into the criteria.
I think you're onto something.
Yeah. I see what you're saying. So it's not intrusive as in it like came out of nowhere. It's intrusive, but there was a place that it originated from.
Yes, and there's these. I mean, this is probably mostly rhetorical and syntax differences between some of these things, but this sounds more to me like a flashback than it sounds like an intrusive thought or a cognitive distortion. It's turning into cognitive distortions, and there is now a hypervigilance and a fearfulness, and now we're manifesting all these extra ideas. Yeah. Yes, I think that's secondary. I think the initial thing is trauma related. And I would be interested in what your assessing therapist thinks when they're really on the ground looking into it.
Yeah.
Really good question.
So there you go.
And great to hear about the marriage. Congratulations.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I didn't get you anything.
Do you think tell the fiance about this or no?
I mean, I imagine the fiance knows about the train wreck past. I'm sure that's not a secret. What the fiance doesn't know about is probably that this is now haunting this person in the now.
I don't know.
I would say talk to your new therapist about that specifically.
Yeah.
And then maybe with the help and a little guidance from the therapist, you might want to unload this onto your fiance.
Right.
Because it seems, reading between the lines here, it seems like they want to
I don't want
share
to
this with the fiance.
Yeah, going through it alone sucks.
Yeah.
And I'll bet you what's probably going to happen. Again, I'm out of the betting game. I'm not gambling anymore, Animus.
By the way, I think there are 3 clusters in PTSD.
Been clean for 10 seconds.
I think there's only 3 clusters in PTSD.
4 and 5 did feel kind of big. I think it is 3.
I'm betting on 3, Jim.
Because there's A, B, and C.
Are you serious?
Yeah, there's an A cluster, a B cluster, and a C cluster.
Okay. Are you seriously going to go with him?
Wait, no, is there a D?
Yes. There's 4. There may be
3.
5.
Oh, he's just trying to goad me into betting again. Wow. I was real close starting to place bets on that.
I'm pretty sure it's 3, Jim.
You have a problem.
I do. Nick, get me out of here. I can't do this podcast
but
anymore,
for real,
man.
You
take advantage of my problem, you son of a bitch.
But I'm pretty sure it's 3, though, for real.
I don't know. It's been a while since it's funny because...
You want to bet Nick's sushi bill on 3?
No, I'm done with this. I'm done with this shit. Yeah.
Nick, you want to bet your sushi bill on 3?
No.
I mean, I feel like...
Yeah, I would,
I already looked it up. It's 3.
Yeah, I was going to say.
I didn't know. I really looked it up already.
It is not.
I mean, according to Google, it is.
Okay. According to the DSM-5, it's not. I know it's not.
I don't know, man. Now I'm kind of questioning it.
All right, you guys.
I feel like it is A, B, and C because I think it comes out to...
No, there's a D.
I don't know, man. No, okay. Here's where you're right and you're wrong.
Okay.
There is a D. It's not a cluster.
Oh, but it's
that's what
so
it
it's
is.
not
D
a
and
cluster.
E, one of them's going to be clinically significant amount of distress is probably going to be D.
I was about to say
E is going to be as not otherwise indicated.
This says according to the DSM-5, there are 3 clusters.
It's 3 clusters. Yeah,
there are 3 clusters, but then there's
a criteria D and E.
I knew there was a D and E.
I think it goes at least to E.
Nick's paying for his own sushi too.
No, I don't think we said that.
Get him. Make him pay the bar tab too. Congratulations, Animus. And also, I would encourage you to consider telling the fiance that you're going to be surprised to see that the fiance is like, I'm not really scared of this. And you're like, well, why? Don't you realize what a monster? Again, it's your trauma.
No, it sounds like Animus is not actively scared of it either.
Well, Animus, yeah, but starts
like it's frightening. It's frightening thoughts, but knows
right.
intellectually that it's not based on
correct
reality.
And I think that
or is that that's too strong of a statement? But because I mean the ex was scary,
correct,
in your life and everything. So like it's based on something.
It's emotional,
but there's
an emotional fear.
There's not evidence that says that there is danger right now.
Yes, and I think that sounds a lot like traumatic reactions. So educational show only, not diagnostic. Educating you about what trauma reactions are. You should consult with your therapist.
But pointing a gun at someone and pulling the trigger is traumatic.
Pretty goddamn traumatic. Yeah. I think we can just say that.
My untrained, educated opinion.
Let's let Smitty say it.
I would share that I experienced that with my spouse.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Wow.
Terrifying.
This is what the ex did to me. Like,
Jesus. Yeah, it's a terrifying
idea. I need to get into everything else, but that's fact. That happened. That was history. Like,
yes. No, it's a traumatic reaction. That's period. It's a traumatic episode. That is scary. I think that's a big part of this. So as much as the other tools are useful and probably will bring some relief in this case, I would encourage you to go deeper with your therapist on it because I think there's a lot to heal from that original thing. That starts to take away some of the fear. So it's an emotional memory, man. Animus, thank you so much for the question. We are taking a quick break, and when we talk... Or wait, do we take another quick break?
Yeah, we do.
Okay,
yeah.
We're taking a quick break, and when we come back, we're talking about... Oh, my goodness.
This is Jim's first episode.
Mother moved in while I was mourning my spouse. Woo! You're listening to Pod Therapy.
All right. Today's episode is brought to you by Smitty Scoop, Jake Schneider, Carolyn Albert, Kevin Chamberlain, Ben Stanley, Byler T. So our second trivia question in honor of our Theraproducers and hopefully our new Therapod or Therapal, Cody, who says he will sponsor the show.
Oh, great.
If we read his trivia on air.
Hopefully it isn't dependent on us getting anything right.
No, he just said good. Just as long as we read it because he feels bad because he's
Dirt
insulted.
Low standard, Cody.
He's insulted you several times on Instagram.
That's fair. Who hasn't? You can be a host of the show with that.
Question 2.
Yeah. What's question 2? Is about cars again?
Yeah. John DeLorean is best known for the DeLorean DMC-12 sports car.
Okay.
With its iconic golf wing doors and unpainted body panels.
Yes.
Is it gull wing doors?
Yeah, gull wing.
Okay.
Oh.
Yep. What material did they use for the body?
Flux capacitor. Final answer.
Is it A, aluminum, B, tin, C, treated iron, D, stainless steel, or E, gold?
Stainless steel. Final answer.
Ooh.
Aluminum.
I believe it's pronounced aluminium, but thanks for playing. I will go with tin because, as I recall...
Because it's got to be more than 9.
Yes. I'm going with that. And as I recall, in Back to the Future, the shade of gray that it is reminds me of tin.
Okay.
It should remind you of a refrigerator because it is stainless steel.
Oh, damn.
And, I'm not even going to scroll down to look at
that it's stainless.
It must have been heavy, huh?
Yeah.
Well, and that was the problem. It also didn't have a big enough engine.
Oh.
So in Back to the Future, they weren't even able to use the speedometer, like all the close-ups of the speedometer. The DeLorean speedometer doesn't go that fast.
They can't get up to 85 in like a quarter mile.
I think it can, but not in the way that.
Yeah,
not in a short distance.
Oh, that's funny.
And they got like it's like a speedometer off of, I want to say like an old Camaro or something.
Wow.
And put it on there so that it would go, because I think the speedometer goes up to like 130 miles an hour.
Yeah.
In the movies. And I believe the actual DeLorean speedometer went up to like 90.
Oh, it's interesting because now you think about all the times it gets dinged up in the movies. It gets hit by the train at the end. Spoiler alert, Smitty. Yeah, Back to the Future 3, the DeLorean does not.
And for everyone screaming, it's 88 miles per hour.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, 88. That feels right. So. Any bonus question on that?
Yes. The first DMC DeLorean rolled off the assembly line in 1980. What year was DeLorean Motor Company founded? Closest wins. Jim, you go first. He gave us an order. I didn't realize that. Jim, Jacob, Nick.
75.
The speedometer only goes up to 85.
Oh, my God.
So it doesn't go to 88.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nice.
Oh, wait, what did you say?
You said what year was DeLorean
You
founded?
said 75?
I'll take 75.
76.
77.
All right.
68.
75.
Wow, look at that.
Oh, man.
Jim with the bonus question.
Champion. Yes. Both bonus questions, by the way. Stuck the landing.
Yeah, so it was stainless steel. Fun fact, 3 DeLorean cars were built that had 24-karat gold-plated stainless.
Oh.
Wow. One is in the Peterson Museum in California.
There you go.
Jeez.
Cool beans. There is a third question. We'll do that after the show.
All right.
Okay. All right. Third question for us on this part of it, the advice piece. Mother moved in while I'm mourning my spouse, from Anonymous. Pronouns are she and her. My overbearing mother moved in with me and my dying husband in November. She and I have never been close, and the only reason she moved in with me is because her husband abandoned her and refused to take care of her anymore. She is obese, elderly, physically impaired, a habitual liar, and emotionally abusive. My husband of 18 years died a couple of months into her moving in with us. I am still reeling from this, but I am in grief counseling, which helps a great deal. My husband was ill for a long time, and I was his caretaker. I now find myself in a position of being a caretaker to my mother, a person I barely like. My mental health has always been precarious. I was suicidal when I was a teen due to my mother's husband being sexually abusive, as well as her abuse in other ways. She ignored my concerns about her husband. I moved out of her house as soon as I was legally able to and built a life for myself. Now I feel myself backsliding into those horrible years that I was desperate to escape. She is a sarlacc pit of need and self-pity. She blames everyone else for her problems and is dismissive of my grief. I need her out of my house. My suicidal ideation is at second base, and I am at my mental limit. How do I move her out of my house? I live in Las Vegas. Do you have any resources or tips for elder care in Las Vegas? Would a social worker help? Should I tell her physician that we need to find a long-term care facility for her? Any help or advice is appreciated. I'm a long-term listener and appreciate your humor and knowledge. Thank you, Anonymous.
Wow.
Whew,
well,
man.
Yeah, right off the bat, sorry to hear about your
terrible.
husband.
That's horrible.
Yeah.
And just such a predatory move by the mom. You know,
that's
just
what
to
I was
come
thinking
in
too.
Like you're not there to cope, you're not there to help, you're not there to comfort, you're just there to mooch.
Yeah.
Because now you can't, have another life with somebody else. And like I get it, like this person apparently has their own troubles. Like the mother has a lot of like illnesses and factors.
Got stuff going on.
Holy smokes, what a burden. And you just finished going through like this entire, we're not even done grieving.
No, yeah,
like,
exactly.
You just finished like dealing with the caretaking.
Shit, have you even started grieving?
Right. Can that even start?
I mean, that's a lot to go through just with just that. And then not without having to deal with, a psychologically abusive parent.
It's a mess.
Yeah.
That's a real mess.
Yeah, I don't think there's any advice that we would give you on how to deal with this with her staying in the house. I think she's...
Yeah.
You got to separate.
I mean, obviously, that's the number one priority.
Yeah.
And I like all the suggestions you're already making, Anonymous. I mean, talking about... So, yes, what's tough about evicting a loved one who is a dependent of yours, which functionally it sounds like your mother is in this case, it does get really tricky because there's this stuff where it's like, okay, it's a game of hot potato. It's like whoever touched this person last, that's the person responsible. You can evict somebody. And again, Jim's no lawyer. Never get your legal advice from a podcast. But I do believe in this case, I think you can call social services. I've seen that move done. But it's not like they're going to come repo your mother, right? Like social services, a social worker can come down and do an assessment. They can determine that she doesn't have the faculties for self-care. They can,
it sounds like the mother is not able to live alone.
It sounds like she's going to need some kind of facilitated care. Assuming that the mother is at maybe Medicare and Social Security ranges, and probably if the mother's having this much health stuff, she probably has access to one of those, if not both. There become a few more options because now you can get them into an assisted care facility where Medicare and Social Security can fund it. So that does exist. But, I mean, obviously it's not going to be the Ritz, but, like, it's an option.
Well, and that's the reason why I'm thinking go through her physician. Because I mean, you can call social services, any of that, but they're going to do an assessment. And I think the way to go about it would be through her doctor, because her doctor should be able to make a referral, right?
I mean, yeah.
This is the thing. Like, this is not my specialty.
We have, so I've had a situation similar to this where I went a lot of extra miles and tried to facilitate getting a patient into some kind of long-term care as an older person. But I got to tell you, not many healthcare providers are going to do that. And that's why I don't actually have a lot of faith in the doctor route. I think if you just call the doctor and you say, hey, look, she can't live with me anymore, figure it out. I think the doctor very quickly is going to stop you right there and say, I have a very clear scope. I am not social services. I am not nutritional care. You bring sick people to me and I treat symptoms, and they're not going to have the resources unless you happen to be part of an integrated care clinic that has a social worker on staff or a case manager. Then you might get some kind of support. But I think if you're not attached to the public sector, I don't think you're going to get a lot. So since you live in Nevada, something you should probably look up. There's a couple of different programs. And I actually just bumped into this the other day because a colleague of ours runs an assisted daycare facility for elders and reached out to me and asked if I would do assessments, therapeutic clinical assessments.
Oh,
for them.
yeah.
Remember I told you about that?
Yeah.
So there's actually a division of the Nevada government, and sorry that this is Nevada focused, but hey, the person is Las Vegas, and we happen to be experts in Las Vegas, so we know this. So listener, go to ADSD, that's Alpha Delta Sapphire Delta. As they use the military code.
They do not say sapphire.
That's what they say. Slappy. Sierra. Samsonite. I was way off.
Slappy.
It's slappy.
Sierra.
Whatever.
Slappy.
ADSD.
Sierra is French for Sierra.
It's Sierra. You got to roll the R's. ADSD.nv.gov. ADSD.nv.gov. And I believe that's the, I don't know what the acronym is. It's like the Department of
Aging and Disability.
And senior something.
Aging and Disability Services Division.
Yes. So go to that first website and then click on the Programs tab. And there's a huge list of links. Adult Protective Services, Aging and Disability Resource Centers. All of these are going to be where you want to go. Community Options Program for the elderly. It's called COPE. There's an Elder Care Toolkit. So all of this is where you're going to find a lot of the things you need. If you haven't already gotten your mother attached to everything that she's available for, everything she's entitled to, so social services, disability, Medicare, you want to get case managers on that ASAP. Get this person as many funding sources as you can. And that's whenever you're going to go through the services and you're going to try to start looking at your options. So that's probably going to be your best stop. I don't think it's going to be a slam dunk. It's not just like you drive somebody to a facility and drop them off. But this website exists because you're not the only person who's dealing with that kind of calamity.
Yeah. Yeah, that's because, I mean, ultimately, I think that's got to be the first thing, is getting her someplace so that we can focus on you.
Yeah.
You know, it worries me to hear that you're at second base.
Yes.
With suicidal ideation.
Yes.
That's very concerning. And if we need to stop everything with the whole mom situation to deal with that, then we do that.
Right.
You know? And by the way, for anybody listening, the National Suicide Prevention Hotline is 1-800-273-8255. 800-273-8255.
I'm glad they added prevention to that.
Yeah. And so to the writer in this case, I think that first off, I think we all agree we want to see the mother thing resolve. And so none of us is going to take the position of like, oh, here's how you cope with the mom. I think I want to see as many practical steps. That's why we're giving you legit websites in your community that you can now go to and hopefully pursue. But Nick, I think, caught on to the smoking gun piece of this, is that, so for those who don't know, the writer's referencing a baseball diamond metaphor that we've used to describe suicidal ideation on the show. And when therapists are thinking about the danger level that a person's at, colloquially, we sometimes refer to it as the baseball diamond. Not everybody does, but it's a concept of 3 phases. In phase 1, a person's having ideation. So there's thinking, man, what if I wasn't around anymore? There's a fantasy component to it. There's a sense of like, maybe I'd be relieved to not be here. maybe death solves a problem, which is always a lie. It's not true. It's a delusion. But that's first base. And therapists don't necessarily take action at that space, but we identify what's going on. Second base is when a person increasingly starts thinking about the how. They're really thinking of practical ways that they could end their lives. So not just fantasizing about it, they're increasingly fantasizing about this. And fantasizing is a complex word. I don't mean like with euphoria attached. I just mean preoccupied with the idea. And not preoccupied unwillingly. It's not like an intrusive thought, which we heard about in a different letter, where a person, has this idea of like, oh no, what if? It's not that. That's not suicidal ideation. That's an intrusive thought. Suicidal ideation is staring at it longingly in despair, believing that this is a solution or a path. Second base is when you're starting to increasingly fixate on the how, the practical strategy. Third base is whenever we start getting to a time and a place. We're adding how with the ideation. Now we're planning. And when you're rounding third base and heading home, we have a plan in place and we're starting to head toward action.
Got the means.
We have the means. We have an idea of how to do it. We've begun making plans for it, time and a place, and now we're heading in that direction. So where you're at right now, writer, that's a spot we want to arrest this momentum now. And so if you are not already, you said you're in a grief group. I think that's wonderful. I'm glad you're doing that. I encourage you to also look into NAMI. And you're part of NAMI Southern Nevada. NAMI Southern Nevada has a very active set of support groups that you should strongly consider to do more with mental health than just grief. If you're not already talking to therapists in our town, I strongly encourage you to get on that immediately. I encourage you to go to your general provider, your family doctor, your physician. And you mentioned that your mother has one. I assume that you're in touch with yours. And you need to let them know, hey, I've been having these thoughts. Hey, it's gotten up to this point. They will have a questionnaire. They will have you answer it. They're not going to take you into custody right there. And they're going to offer you medicine. And if you have not consulted on medicine when you're having this level of suicidal ideation, you should. You should consult on medication. It's not my place to tell you what to take. It's not my place to insist that you take anything. It's my place to educate you that that is considered a valid tool with that thinking, and your physician is qualified to make that evaluation and to get you what you need, and that's part of the toolkit. And remember, not being able to afford therapy is not an excuse to not get it. There's always, always, always options. You live in Las Vegas, you can go get student therapists at UNLV or go to Kayenta or any number of facilities. You can go to Renewing Life Center. You can go to so many places in town where they have low-cost student therapy, free therapy. If you go to UNLV, if you go to the practice at UNLV, you can get free therapy. There are so many options in town. Do not let that be an obstacle. Get help. Get honest about this. Do not stop, okay? That is what's unacceptable. You call that hotline if you need to. You go see your doctor. You get to a therapist. You go to the NAMI support groups. You do the next right thing because this is going to get fixed. You're going to find a way forward to get rid of your mother. You're going to find a way to heal from this. You deserve peace. It's going to happen. But don't you dare give up. Believe in something next and do the next right thing. And I'm glad you're writing into the show. I'm glad you're talking about it. I'm glad you're mental health focused. But we can't just leave it there. This doesn't just change on its own. And you're not just going to give up your life and start babysitting your mother. That resentment is there. It's boiling inside of you. We're going to solve this thing one at a time, but you got to start with self-care. If you don't have that, you don't have anything. It's a great question.
We don't say often enough when it comes to suicidal thoughts and everything. You can absolutely talk to your general practitioner.
Yeah. We don't talk about that enough. We tend to make it sound like you go to a therapist, which, yes, a therapist is a specialist in knowing what to do.
That's great.
That's a wonderful
If you don't have access to a therapist, if you don't already have a therapist,
any doctor,
you can call your GP.
Yes, nurse practitioner.
They are trained to deal with that stuff as well.
Yes, they will deal with it. And medicine is a tool. It is not a cop-out. It is a tool, and it is appropriate in the situation. Mm-hmm. Consult with a physician. Consult with your medical team. That is another answer to that. Great questions. Yeah. Damn, that's a really big one. But I'm really glad you're writing in. And to the writer, don't lose hope. Thank you for telling us about this. And please follow up with us. Let us know what's going on. PodTherapyGuys@gmail.com. Just keep us in the loop. You know, we just always want to know how we can root for people. And if you need some more specific links, Anonymous, and you're like, hey, guys, Jim doesn't know how to read things. I couldn't understand what the hell that was. Just write us, and we'll just start, copying and pasting every link we've got and get you everything that we possibly can.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, want to make sure that you know where all the resources are, therapy, support groups, whatever you need. Email us, podtherapyguys@gmail.com. You're in our jurisdiction. We will not keep that from you. We'll give you everything we got.
Yep.
Great questions. So as we are recording this on, what's today? The 4th?
Yep.
Mm-hmm. May the 4th be with you.
It's April, but good
It's
enough.
April.
April 4th be with you. As we're recording this, we have new people. In fact, we just got a new Theraproducer. Did you see that today?
No.
Oh, wow. You need to check our Twitter, dog.
Yeah.
University Jeff is our newest Theraproducer.
Oh, no kidding.
Yep. So he joined as of today. So luckily we caught that one. And we have a new Therapal. How do you pronounce that, Nick?
Levante Beggy.
That feels right. And also a new Therapod. And this is a very foreign name. Adam.
Adam.
I like that.
No last name.
Damn.
It's exotic.
A damn!
Damn, I said, God damn. And we want to thank our bosses, the Saccharin 16, the mysterious and shrouded Illuminati members, the Theraproducers. Thank you, Smitty Scoop.
Thank you, Smitty Scoop.
You're welcome. Thank you, Smitty. Thank you, Jake Schneider, Robert Brownie Jr. Mint, Kayla Lansbury, Judy Schneider, Nathan's Hot Dog Scoop, King of Student Loan Debt, Dr. Ben Don, Crazy Banana Scoop, Mason Miller, Carolyn Albert, Leon Kassab, Kevin Chamberlain, Malia, Richard Macy, Cindy Ash, Newstick, Lord Colin Stewart, Dirty B, Ben Stanley, Sammy Scoop, Sarah Smith, Adam Hathaway, Dan Martin, Byler T, and our newest addition, University Jeff.
And if you'd like to hear this episode uncut and unedited,
It's a bad week to start.
It sure is. I don't know. It's pretty good for me. And enjoy our spontaneous side projects. Go to patreon.com/therapy. And thank you for supporting mental health.
That's all the time that we have for this week's session. Look, if you work at the TSA, there is a glaring loophole in the security apparatus. It is dangerous. And I hope that you'll go to patreon.com/therapy and find out why. I want to thank our landlords, the Ice Cream Social Podcast. Thanks to those of you who contributed to our show today. We really appreciate it. Remember, Pod Therapy isn't something to keep all to yourself. Share this episode with someone who needs it by opening the episode's description in your podcast app and copying and pasting the link provided into your social media. Don't forget, you can find us at facebook.com/podtherapy, on Twitter at PodTherapyGuys, and at patreon.com/therapy.
Do you want to submit a question to the show? Ask anonymously at podtherapy.net or email us at podtherapyguys@gmail.com. I'm Jacob Smith.
That was solid. I'm Paul Mattingly.
Thanks.
Thank you for your supporting, and we'll see you for your appointment next week.
Ladies and gentlemen, mental health. You said we have a bonus question?
Our last question.
Okay.
Is that 25 Theraproducers now?
Yeah, it's up
Is
there.
it?
We need to change that number from Saccharin 16.
DeLorean is the answer to this last
Final
question.
answer. Flux
God
capacity.
damn, dude. Oh, shit. You know, I closed out of my
I have
email.
a picture of my kids with
With a DeLorean. Nice.
one of the Back to the Future cars
Oh, that's super cool. Where was that taken?
on the mall, National Mall.
Oh, fun.